recording started, I forgot to record this, but now we're recording the Zoom.
Okay,
as well.
technical issues.
So the Zoom is also recording, and I'm gonna have to go in the other room and turn off that thing. But we have not only the memo that's in the packet, but we also have the person who wrote it, or the person who wrote it.
Well, one of the people who wrote it.
The people, because thanks to the miracle of our Zoom link.
Okay, you want to make a brief presentation?
Yes, I'm not going to bore you guys by reading the whole memo because you can do that, but I will go over what some of the big takeaways are. We will be having the expo again this year at Marketplace Mall because it went really well last year, and the mall was just very supportive of a venue and went above and beyond. So we're really excited to be there again this year. Last year we had 65 exhibitors and approximately 1,200 people attended. We hope to have 2 more exhibitors this year. We just recently sent out the sponsorship registration form and brochure, which I think is that also in the packet, Lynn, the sponsorship brochure?
It sure is. I'm gonna put it up on the screen.
Yes, we sent that out along with a Google registration form aimed at sponsorship very recently. So I will be making follow-up calls soon. But for the last couple years, that Google sponsorship form has been really effective. In terms of more updates for this year, we decided again to not have the children's activities room for safety reasons and also just space within the venue. But we are trying to bring back our interactive scavenger hunt this year. We decided to make disability rights champion Judith Human the focus because she did so much with her life to further disability rights that we could probably cover 3 scavenger hunts with everything she did, so content should not be a problem. We have written a letter to the managers of every store at the mall asking if they will participate. We've already gotten feedback from one that was very enthusiastic and also expressed interest in wanting to volunteer at the expo. So we were very excited about that. At last year's expo, we had quite a few exhibitors express wanting to do live presentations at the next expo, so we're gonna try to bring those back. I think they were kind of a COVID casualty before. We tried to have them at the expo that was canceled due to the pandemic. So hopefully now bringing them back this year will be much more successful. The artists that are involved with the Alliance for Inclusion and Respect will be joining us again this year at the expo. There were just a couple artists that unfortunately expressed some concerns regarding the safety of their wares last year, so we are going to try to increase the security around their tables. Let's see what else. we made a very small change to the name of the sponsorship levels because people were sometimes mixing up platinum and premium platinum in past years. So we changed premium platinum to diamond, and I believe we also changed silver plus to silver and silver turned to bronze. But anyway, the idea behind that is just that it'll be simpler with having less names that are alike. So hopefully there will be less confusion for sponsors. Let's see. We have already been at some really great community events like the art show at Ebert Fest, the bicentennial conference that Family Services had recently. We have Delono Days and Senior Day at the Champaign County Fair coming up. We're going to try to have Expo representatives there. Barb Bresner, who my husband and I took over for, well, we took over for her and Jim, but she is still really great about being an Expo representative at those events, and we are just extremely appreciative of that. Regarding safety protocols for COVID, we plan to touch base with public health as the event gets closer, but it seems likely that masks will be available and encouraged but not required. So I think that's the gist of it, but does anybody have any questions?
This isn't a question, Allison, but it's just kind of an add-on. Given like it's gotten to be kind of difficult to get people interested in the volunteer pieces, like not the day of. We get, we've got Becca and Chandra have all kinds of ways of getting us volunteers for the day of, but steering committee members, right? Like that's kind of what you're looking for, more steering committee input, especially.
Yes, we are trying to recruit new members for the steering committee and the subcommittees that come out of the steering committee, because unfortunately we are noticing less participation from the agencies that are on the committee. So we have reached out to Dres, Parkland, and a few other local establishments to see if they may have people that are interested or may have recommendations for being able to advertise to students or other interested parties. Unfortunately, so far we haven't gotten much feedback, but I'm trying to stay on them with follow-up emails and phone calls. But yes, unfortunately, we are noticing a lack of participation in the steering committee.
And I'm sorry to bring up a downer, and also like the good side is like you guys are doing a great job with that and you're being really gracious about outreach. I just thought maybe board members know people too that in the community, like that's one of the things that our boards are pretty deeply rooted and often know other community entities that we might not think of. So maybe they can help us with that outreach. You guys are still doing a great job. It's just a lot easier and better with a full committee.
Yes, well, and that's kind of what the spirit of the expo is all about. This is a community event, so we really like to see community participation because that is at the heart of the event. It's about giving people with disabilities in East Central Illinois access to a better quality of life, and we need community members and community participation to fulfill that mission. So
Well, I want to thank you for just an excellent written presentation and also your highlights presentation. And I wish you all success. And I know it will be very successful. It was last year, and I expect it'll be even better this year.
thank you. I hope so.
Any
Okay.
other questions or comments from the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was very nice to see all of you.
And I'm glad we got Zoom to work. That was excellent. Okay, there is one other presentation, which is really something that when I looked at this, it was new to me. And then when Lynn and I talked, she said, well, the DD board wasn't really that involved in it, but the mental health board was very involved in it. But this is for our information, was a student project about financial management support for agencies. And it is on pages 24 to 46. And again, I think it's well written and informative. Is there anyone that wants to speak to this?
We have Chris is in the room and Leon is on the Zoom, and I didn't ask Chris in advance, but I did ask Leon. So these guys got it started, and then Leon wrote it up and worked with the students. So
Sure, I can add just a little bit. So yes, we met with the college students for, I think, a business 301 class, and they, wanted to, have a community project with us, and so we presented to them a couple of issues that we've noticed over the past few months with some of our agencies struggling with bookkeeping, and so. They conducted their research. They met with, developed a survey, conducted a focus group, met with a couple of our agencies, one DDB agency, and I believe it was 3 other MH agencies. And they just kind of ironed out what, some of the agencies noticed as some of the issues that was going on with meeting deadlines and getting audits in. And so, some of the agencies were, they mentioned that their issues were not that they didn't want to do the work. Their issues were, finding an auditor who was responsive, the cost of rising audits, and then there were the issues of having just 1 or 2 staff to manage the bookkeeping component while also trying to take on other duties. And so that was a big issue. The students mentioned that they gave us a couple of recommendations, and one was for MHB and DDB staff to be a little more responsive to the agencies that needed our attention with their financials. And then the other issue was for a recommendation was for some of the agencies to continue to communicate with their CPA firms early and continue to communicate with staff early in the process. The issue, I just feel like, and maybe Lan or Chris can jump on in here, but I think we do a pretty decent job with being responsive, being receptive to the agencies when they have issues or concerns regarding reports, deadlines, you name it. I think we're good with the phone and email, so I'm not so sure that that recommendation was I mean, it's what they noticed, what the agency suggested, but I think we're doing a pretty good job with that, and we'll continue to do a good job with that. So it was interesting. It was a 3-month project, and they reached out to us again just the other day about wanting to conduct another student project with us. And so I think we're kind of overwhelmed with other things going on. I will say that what continues to come out of these projects, these student projects, are things such as, the agencies are still struggling with, the shortage of staffing and being able to focus their attention on the financials. That's a difficult thing. And it's mainly our MH agencies. I haven't heard a whole lot on the DD side about that. The other thing is, finding a responsive CPA firm to assist them with the work that's being done, to appreciate the work that our agencies are doing, and provide outstanding reports or results for those agencies. So there's a couple of I would say issues or flags that continue to be raised as we work with these student projects. I'll pause there. They've included their report, final report in the packet. I'll take any questions or concerns that you all may have, or advice, because we do need help on the inmate side.
I have, yeah. Oh, I have a suggestion. The young people that may be assigned to this survey or study that they're doing, perhaps instead of studying, and pointing out to us what the problem is, maybe they could step in and take over the duties of some of these agencies for the semester that they're in the class.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah, I think that when I read this, I can see it's a system problem. It's not a people problem. The people are doing as good a job as they can, but the system is difficult. There's a lack of availability of CPAs and too expensive. So I would suggest looking at it from the system point of view is to how can we organize things so that it's easier for agencies to meet the requirement. And getting volunteer help for doing financials is a tricky business because it's legally very important. So we'd have to make sure that that was done properly. And I would really want legal advice before we had volunteers dealing with financials. But it's a good idea, and other good ideas may come forward. So looking at how we can organize systems and mobilize resources would be the way to go forward. From this study, I agree. Thank you.
I know personally, I reached out to other CPA firms, and what I got back was just simple. It cost us $15,000 to $20,000 to have the financial review. And of course, we can't afford that. So it's not like we haven't tried to find different places or engage with others, but I also know the firm that we're working with is going through a major changeover themselves with personnel and what they're doing with so it definitely continues to be a struggle, but I'm really positive for this next year. I think hopefully it's going to get better. I think the cost is what hurts us the most, being able to reach out to others.
Thank you, Brenda. Oh, Chris, you want to?
Yeah, just a couple of things to add in there. So first off, I wasn't able to participate in this project as much as I wanted to over the last couple months. So Leon, thank you for spearheading this and working with the students. I can tell you as an accountant, I've seen firsthand that there is a direct correlation between the strength of an organization's books and the strength of the organization as a whole. And we've seen time and time again, the agencies that struggle with their reports, the agencies that fail to submit audits on time, those are the agencies that end up closing their doors shortly thereafter. Unfortunately, and as Leon said, the final results from the students project is in the report, and they were able to uncover a few resources, but ultimately it comes down to the agencies need to invest in their own infrastructure. There's really not much that we can do as staff. It becomes a conflict of interest at a certain point if we get too involved. And then, some of these smaller agencies where it's one or two people running the show, they have their hearts in the right place, but maybe they don't have the technical skills to really do the heavy lifting when it comes to accounting that really needs to be done. And that's where the agencies need to invest in their own infrastructure, and whether that's hiring a bookkeeper on staff or going out and hiring one as an independent contractor from a CPA firm. And again, that comes with a bill, that comes with dollar signs attached to it. So, personally, I encourage agencies, if they're going to do that, we'll pay for it. Ask it, make it part of your proposal. If you're asking for an extra $20,000 than you did last year, but it's because you're hiring a bookkeeper, I think that's a great thing. I can't speak for the board, but anyways, yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to drag this out too long, but I absolutely agree with Chris. This is the agencies that this board and the mental health board are funding do not have to operate in a Champaign County vacuum. It's better for all of us if they're connected to the larger system. And the only way they can be is if they have, high quality financial reporting and good lawyers and good insurance. And that's a whole bunch of stuff that costs money that doesn't have to do like immediately with people getting served. So I think both of the boards have shown a lot of grace around, like, yes, let's spend more money on the infrastructure that's necessary for us to have services in operation, high quality services in operation. And these are pieces of it. So I absolutely, Brenda, I love working with you, and we've talked about these issues for the last year. You have a great bookkeeper right now, so I know you're on the track, but I would say, like, this is a value that local funders like the Mental Health Board and the DDB can offer, which is to strengthen local organizations so that they can be competitive for the bigger dollar items. And you can't do it without an audit, and you can't do it without liability insurance and all this kind of stuff around the edges that we don't talk a lot about. So I appreciate Chris and Leon taking this on. And what a great memo. Thank you, Leon. I just, I don't know if we don't know if we're accurately representing the board's values, but it is my opinion that this is a high value. So anyway.
I agree. Any comments from the board? Any more questions or comments from the board?
I just want to say that I agree that it is.
Turn it on again.
I agree that it is extremely important to have financial accountability. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Leon, and to the students. Okay, the next item is a decision item. It is the draft fiscal year 2024 budget. And there is a decision memo included for board action regarding initial budget plans. And it is on is the decision on page 47 or page 62?
Well, it looks like 48.
48.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't flag it, so thank you for that.
But it references these other things.
Okay. I will accept a motion as on page 48, and there are two motions. So let's do one first.
I'll move to approve the attached draft 2024 CCDDB budget with anticipated revenues and expenditures of $5,244,011.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? That's the next one
The
that we
next
talked
one.
about, yeah. I mean, what you and I talked about is the next one, but you can say whatever you want.
I do have a couple of questions. First of all, I want to be clear that the budgets are for the fiscal year 24 that starts January 1st through December 31st, not the program year that we go on, correct?
Well, we don't go on the program year is what we've been talking about since maybe last October. But that's the agency contract year, and that's July 1st. So you're absolutely right. This is actually our fiscal year, January 1 through December 31, because we're a unit of county government, and the county's fiscal year is January 1 through December 31. So thank you.
Okay. And I had another question. And I think it's about this budget, but are there in our statutes that establish the CCDDB board, is there anything that says how much of the revenue that comes in must be spent on agencies or given to agencies? There is not.
The statute simply says you have total authority over your budget. That's all. It talks a lot about purchasing buildings, using buildings for services, and we've done that, and it didn't work out very well. So that the main activity for these funds would be to fund agencies to provide services to adults and then to children for things that they're not eligible through school.
Okay. And so a comment that I have, I'm kind of a numbers person, and I went through and looked at these budgets, and I wanted to comment that both the mental health board and the DD board, they spend on that line item called contributions and grants. The mental health board spends 84% on contributions and grants, which is a really high percentage of the total budget. And the DD spends 91, almost 92% on its contributions and grants. So that means the leftover, the 9% leftover is overhead, which is a really good percentage, to be spending 90% of your money on giving to the community as opposed to, 80% of your money or 75% of your money. I think it needs to be pointed out that both boards do a really good job of handing out taxpayers' money.
Lynn?
So after today, whatever you approve, and then whatever the mental health board approves, then I get to shift and enter it into the county system. And I've gotten, since I did this a little bit, and this is one of those like, text Chris anytime, day or night, with emergency questions about what are we going to spend on paper next year. And he's very accommodating during this period, but we'll go back into that phase in order to set everything up into the county. And one of the things that I have to do is a narrative description. And if you don't mind, I'd like to include your comment, because a lot of times I'm just putting stuff that you've talked about all year, but that's a special highlight that I might add to the budget narratives that we present to the county.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
For
And one
some
more-
reason, your thing is still on.
Okay, one more question. How much is spent for our 211 services each year? How much do we spend? Is it one of it's incorporated in one of these line items?
You're right. It's not pulled out. You looked at it last year. We don't bring it every year, just every 2 or 3 years, but it's around 20,000 now, isn't it, Chris? Or 21,000? And you might have noticed some language about that amount being reduced and maybe even eliminated, but that's based on a promise from the state of Illinois. So take it or leave it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you, Georgiana. Those were very good, helpful comments, and thank you for being numbers person. Any more discussion about the first motion on page 48? Okay, it's money, so we have to do roll call.
Georgiana Schuster.
Yes.
Vicky Nice Wonder,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
and Robin.
Yes. Okay, there is a second motion. Would someone like to make that motion?
I will make a motion to approve the attached draft 2024 IDD Special Initiatives Fund Budget with anticipated revenues and expenditures of $406,000. Use of this fund is consistent with the terms of the intergovernmental agreement between the CCDDB and CCMHB, and full approval is contingent on CCMHB action.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion about this one? This is the special initiatives that we have talked about. Okay, hearing no discussion. Chandra?
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Vicky Nice Wonder,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
and Rob.
Yes. Okay, both of those items are approved. And we are now going to the second page of the agenda. We have an information page. Let's see, we have still one more thing that we have to vote on. This information page is very interesting. It is just one page. And it's a fact sheet developed by something called the Institute Online, which I had never even heard of, but there's a lot of things I haven't heard of. Lynn assures me that this is a reputable source of information. Lynn, do you want to make a brief comment about this?
Well, I don't know, Kim Bowdry, if you're in the mood to talk. No, okay. But this is Kathy Carmody is at this organization. Folks might remember Kathy from other areas of work in the state, which is, to me, that made it a credible source. I thought it was interesting because it's data that we are often asked about and do not know. We don't have easy access to these numbers. So I thought it might be nice to include it. There may be other people in the room who know a whole lot more about this or how this might be about to change under the recently passed budget. I don't really know enough to comment other than I thought it was shocking. So anyway.
I was just going to say appalling, so similar to shocking. Yeah.
Well, this is what we're dealing with, folks. We do the best we can. We'll keep that in mind. Any other comments, Vicky?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that the number that you see, that's that first and second highlighted number, the 347,000 plus a year, is per person who lives in an institutional setting. It's not of total cost. And that is absolutely insane that we spend that much money for services that are so poor.
Thank you, Vicky. There's a reason they were highlighted. A lot of work needed to do. Any more comments from the board? Thank you, Lynn, for including this. The next item is old business. And it's program year 24 funding decisions, information only charts. Pages 64 to 67. There's no decision item. This is for information only. Any comments? Questions? Okay, the next item is a decision item and it is the addendum. It's an agency request. And I don't know if we have a motion written.
Apologies, we did not. This is something, this goes back to April when I think in the program summary, staff had a recommendation that this contract might be appropriate for 2-year funding because it's the workforce recruitment. It's very similar to the workforce recruitment contract that we have with DSC. Do you want to say? I keep putting you guys on the spot.
I don't know what you want me to say. We offered it as a 2-year contract and in April, we mentioned it and then it kind of got lost in the weeds. And so in discussion with Becca from Community Choices during May, it was brought up again and she checked with her board and she was eager to do this. And so now we're bringing it to you all for approval to do it as a 2-year contract.
Okay, I'm gonna just make it into a motion. And I will move that we approve the staff recruitment and retention grant as a 2-year contract for Community Choices. Can I add something to it?
Could you add for the annual amount of 34,000?
Okay, okay. I move that we approve the staff recruitment and retention grant for the amount of $34,000 to be a 2-year contract, with the second year also being the same amount.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
I just want to say, I think that makes perfect sense and I have no problem with that motion.
Okay, and thank you, Becca, for coming forward with this. Appreciate it. Okay, it's money, so we've got to have a roll call.
Vicky Nice-Wonder,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
and Robin.
Yes. The motion passes. All right. And that is the end of our decision items. We've got schedules. We are meeting in person. The next meeting will be in this room in person. Champaign County Mental Health Board, any reports, Lynn?
They'll meet this evening for they have similar business. They have an agency request and then it's also like kind of wrapping up the funding allocation decision season that you've just gone through and looking at the same budget documents, which will allow us to start entering into the county system so we can bring you back more budget information, maybe in September, maybe in October. The Mental Health Board and the DD Board have joint full authority over that Special Initiatives Fund. And because we didn't get a lot of applications according to the priorities that you all set last fall, some of what you'll be doing in the next few months is to set the stage for that. So we'll have a presentation at your meeting next month, and then also in the evening for the Mental Health Board, it's the same presentation, but it's about smart home technology. I don't know if that's a direction that we could go in this community, but it's really interesting. So anyway, we're about to sort of move into a season of looking at ideas, maybe some study sessions on topics around successful implementation of interesting ideas. And anyway, that's the Mental Health Board will join you for some of that. And then for some of it, you'll just have like identical meetings. So that's the whole thing. Sorry.
Thank you, Lynn. Staff reports are included, pages 82 to 110. Again, thank you to staff for your excellent reports, and y'all been busy. Chandra?
Yes, I just wanted to remind everyone that we're doing youth mental health first aid, and the adult mental health first aid will be scheduled out starting in August, and then go through September. So we're doing 3 youth mental health first aid, 1 in person. There's still room for people to sign up this week if you want to take the youth. And then the adult, then it will be 1 that's virtual, 1 that's a blended where you do in person and learning, and then a 2-hour self-paced course. And so those dates are June 23rd and the June 30th, where we're doing half one day, half the next day. The others will be done in one day. July 18th and July 25th.
Thank you. That sounds excellent.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you to the staff for the reports, and I am just amazed at the number of connections that are being made in the community, in the state, and nationally. It's just incredible, the resources that you all bring to this organization.
So I don't know, Kim's not going to say anything, so I'm going to say it because Chandra reminded me. There are some of these opportunities that we're hosting are open to board members and anyone that they think should get there, and they're also open to the public. So in Kim's staff report is a note about another upcoming training. There's a little bit more time to register for that one because it's June 29th instead of next week. Oh wait, June 23rd is this week. That's like 2 days from now. Thank you, Chandra. Super important. Anyway, this session that Kim that writes about in her staff report is that's an in-person opportunity at the Champaign Public Library, and it's a resiliency refresher. And it's kind of maybe it's important to check in on agency staff every once in a while and make sure they're okay. So it's kind of focused on them, but maybe everyone could use a resiliency touch-up, and Karen Sims is so good at it. So I just want to let everybody know that it's free. Just register and go, and we'll provide, I think, coffee and some donuts, right? Is that the
Pastries.
All right. Thank you for all of that. Sounds very good. We're ready for successes and agency information. Who wants to go first?
Good morning. Patty Walters, DSC. I think we all know each other. I wanted to give just a brief update on the workforce retention grant. We just finished the first year. I'm not going to be able to give you numbers. I think that'll be in our fourth quarter report next month. But last Friday was the 3rd payout for our staff for the retention bonuses. And just to share how well received those are. The way that it's working is that people that are newly hired into the organization, once they complete training, they're eligible for the hiring bonus, which was $500. And then they would be eligible for 2 of the 3 retention bonuses during the year if they stay the full year. Other staff that have been, on staff for the full year then get the retention bonuses. So it's up to $1,500 per person. It's been a great recruiting tool, but the retention bonuses, I think, mean the most to people. And it was very well received last week. The other piece of that is our membership to the National Alliance for Direct Support Professionals. If you've not visited that website, I would encourage you to take a look at that. We had some training sessions. It's called NADSP, or the National Alliance for Direct Support Professionals. The membership is for the agency, but every staff person is also considered a member. So they can go on and use the resources independently, or we can collectively do some trainings and things as a provider. And in May, hosted a number of trainings. John Raphael is the educator for that. Hugely motivating, very gregarious speaker, very well received by staff. And I think that the main reason I wanted to stress it is that I think all of the providers focus on the people that we support and not as much on the staff who support them. And that's been the value of this grant. The biggest takeaway for me, and I sat in on all of the sessions, was people recognizing their own value. I think that we can all recognize their work, and that needs to happen more, at a state level and a national level. But for them to be actively participating in these trainings and for him to validate their contributions, sometimes when that happens externally, and it means a lot more. So having an external trainer, having somebody recognize their work, comparing and being able to bring inspiration and experience from other organizations across the state was really meaningful to staff. So year 2, we're looking forward to some additional trainings. We want to send a couple of the DSPs to their conference. People that don't always get that opportunity. I just want to thank you guys for investing in that. It's been really meaningful for our team. And I think people kind of get in, I don't know that it's ruts. I think they recognize that they're making a difference day to day, but to really be able to share examples and walk away feeling like it wasn't just, I didn't just help them do this. This is how it can be generalized, and this is how it can help them on a larger scale in their lives. So it was very reflective for me as somebody that's been in the field for a long time, but to see our staff participate and kind of recognize their own value was huge. And I think it also sparked some enthusiasm for some of the things that we have coming up. And that then leads to the 2 new positions that you funded for FY24, which is the resource coordinator and the DSP staff support specialist. In the grant, we called it a staff support specialist. We realized when we were advertising that sounded a little more like an administrative, and we weren't getting the interest that we wanted as far as really somebody as a DSP support specialist that's going to be able to model and coach and really help our staff provide better services to individuals who are struggling either with mental health or behavioral support needs. There's a lot of context and a lot of information at the front end when somebody's hired, but that ongoing training is really important once they've gotten up and running. And we've got a lot of people that need support and want to make sure that staff recognize that support looks different for every person, and new staff don't always know that. So those positions are going to be incredibly valuable. We are making an offer to someone today on one of the 2 positions, and we've got other interviews scheduled this week. So we're very hopeful to have those hired by July 1. The other thing, just because I've got page 63, which is the information that came from the Institute on Public Policy for IDD. DSC is a member of this state organization. Kathy is a wonderful resource. And part of what she brings is she really dives into what's happening at a national level, which helps elevate information that's available in Illinois, because as we know where we fall as a state. So she's a huge resource. There's information that is shared that we're not able to share as members, that comes directly from her, and other information that we can. So if that's something that we can help bring to the board or something, then let us know. I think this and the They Deserve More are both really good resources for, they really do a nice job of summarizing things that we all know in a way that we can share it either with families or individuals, or when we're, kind of advocating for different things. So if there's something that we can share with the Institute information, just ask her, or we can be more forthcoming with that. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
Hi, I'm Becca Obachowski with Community Choices. I just wanted to talk about a couple successes, or just sort of things that are going on with us over at Community Choices. One is that we had a number of months ago agreed to be a partner on an international research project that's called the Balancing Act Project, and it's through Queen's University in Canada. And it's about how families leverage natural supports. And so they're doing sort of a participatory research model and looking at how different agencies, how families independently are sort of using services and natural supports sort of collaboratively. Megan Burke from the University of Illinois at the time had suggested us as being part of that. And we just found out maybe a few weeks ago that their funding was granted. And so we had the first sort of meeting of all the agencies and different sort of collaborators in the grant yesterday morning. And there was people from all over the world. So they had people from Africa, Asia, Canada, the UK. I'm probably missing a couple. So I'm really excited to be part of that. It's going to involve some interviews with staff. I think maybe a few interviews with families. They're still kind of putting all of those pieces together. But I just wanted to mention it because, you know, the fact that Community Choices has been able to sort of be able to figure out how to leverage some of that natural support with family support and how we've been able to support families is a lot because of the funding that this board has been able to offer to allow us to grow over the years. And so I just wanted to kind of bring that to your attention that your support has been able to sort of help us be recognized and hopefully sort of add to the knowledge that exists about how to support families and how to support inclusive communities across the world. And hopefully we'll learn a few things too from what other people are doing. It was just, we did most of the meeting yesterday was introductions, as these meetings can be with large groups, but it was really interesting to hear just the breadth of different types of organizations and providers and other researchers that exist. I think we are definitely one of the smallest organizations that's part of the project. Most of them are like large international service providers and advocacy organizations. And so I think it'll be really interesting to see what other people are doing. And I just wanted to let you all know that it's a 5-year project. So I think it'll be some time before we have any, you know, big conclusions from it. But I will certainly let you all know when that does happen. So the other thing is just a success that we've had in the last couple of weeks. A young woman that we've been working with for, gosh, over a year and a half. We helped her recently found a job at Big Grove Tavern, which is going great. It's still early days, but so far her employment specialist, Marissa, has just been raving about how supportive the restaurant has been and how supportive the staff has been. And I think that's also important to mention that they were one of the first businesses or a very early business to become LEAP certified. And so it's been really nice to see that even though they went through that training a number of years ago, that seems to have been part of their culture as to be an inclusive workplace and make her feel welcome and find a role there that really fit her interests and her skills and made her feel part of the group. So we're hopeful and feeling really good about that so far.
And we have someone who is going to, do we have another one in person? So let's go to the online.
Okay. Mel Young.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Just a couple of things. I just want to share with everyone that Pace has finished up our art that an instructor from the University of Illinois has came over to Pace and had art classes. We had a few of consumers that attended that and stuff. So we will be showing those pretty soon of what kind of wonderful project they finished and stuff. Another thing is on the 20th, I just want to announce that we have a collaboration with NAMI on the 26th. There will be it will be a community event. So if anyone wants to attend, it will be at the Champaign Library at 7 o'clock on the 26th. So Pace is the guest speaker to kind of let everyone know what services we offer in the community. I'm hoping that you guys could share to everyone. Possible anyone that would like to attend the NAMI meeting and stuff. And lastly is that we will be having, Pace will be having a fundraising community event at Monocle's on July 11th. So it will be for the Rantoul, Urbana, and Champaign location Monocle's. So I will be, Lynn and Tim, I'll be sharing that flyer if you guys could possibly share it for us. Other than that, that's that.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more in person.
Good morning. Last month, I shared that a group of people went to Comic-Con, and I wanted to give that a little more context this month. The scope of what the Community First program does really can't be summarized in quarterly reports or what I share. on a monthly basis. You fund us to, on paper, promote community connection through recreational activities, social events, educational groups, volunteering, and other areas of interest to enhance personal fulfillment. In practice, what that means is staff inspire people to be curious. The program is driven by the participants, and the way we do that, every 4-month group cycle, halfway through that cycle, we survey every single person in every single group that they participate in. So we want to know what's working, what isn't working, what are you interested in learning more about? So that's about 150 surveys that we're then trying to get through and then establish the framework and curriculum for the next series of groups. So the fact that the group went to Comic-Con is kind of a ripple effect. It's one thing that's happened because of the group. And so what we found, the ripple effect of the role play and fan club group, which is the group that went, students that were affected by COVID and isolation, when their parents come in with them and we're talking to them about opportunities in the program, when they meet other young people who share those same common interests, they're like, I want to do that. And then they start participating one day and then their participation expands. The other thing we want to do with the program is we want people to connect with their community outside of their time with us. And 2 participants in this group now hang out together on weekends. They go to movies together. There are a lot of action hero movies. They do those together. And so they've developed a connection. We've been embraced by Enchantment Alley. When they did some kind of renovating, they had us in mind when they did that. And we're trying to get some people interested in some of the events that happen on weekends. And we now have 2 groups, role-playing groups, because of the interest. We're trying to figure out how to start a 3rd, just because of the level of interest. And one father whose daughter has participated in this for the last 2 sessions called one day and said, I have never heard her engage in conversation as much as she does now. And he was just very, very moved by that. And this is a woman who's in her 30s. Kind of interestingly, at the Clark Road is kind of a hub for communication at the end of the day. And, so staff go out there and touch base with people. And a lot of times the focus then kind of becomes, the attention is on staff. And I went out recently and just said hi to the group and they said hi. And then they just continued talking with each other. It's like I didn't even exist. So might have been a little harmful to the ego, but no, it was great. So, and then the trip to Comic-Con. So those are the ripple effects of just that one group out of the 35 to 40 groups that happen every week.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yes.
Would that be all right? Thank you for that. But I think that it has several effects in that it impacts, I think, what we're asking for from agencies. And I think that as a group, we need to figure out how to gather that qualitative data and on a regular basis, understand what it means and how it's indicating change from what used to be isolated services and now is moving toward more into community. It also is important, I think, for other agencies to be able to share those kinds of successes on a regular basis so that people have better ideas on how they can connect folks to their community. And lastly, it's better for the people that we serve.
Expand on that a little bit because I think a comment last month too that made us kind of really think about.
Can you come to the mic so that the recording can pick you up, please?
That's okay. Trying to avoid that, Chandra. It was going to be really quick. three's a charm. Last month you had made a comment that made me really kind of question how we're sharing information. And I think there's a lot of detail in the fourth quarter report, in the quarterly reports, but I don't necessarily know that it's what you're wanting. And so I think it would be really helpful to consider that before we get to October, when we do the first quarterly report, if there's another way to share information, because I think this is a snippet, which is really valuable. And I kind of the highlight sometimes for me in the meetings is to hear what gets shared during this time. But I do think there's a lot going on that I don't know how to share it. And so I appreciate your comments and would like to look at that. So thank you.
And I'm Laura Bennett from DSC, and I wanted to let you guys know about another positive outcome. For the first time since COVID, we've been able to reinstate a program we have with some of the local schools where individuals who are nearing exiting school can spend time at DSC in our day program, participating in our community activities, as well as some of the in-center activities with the support of their aid from school. And we collaborate with the schools to get this to happen. And this past April, we had 2 students from St. Joseph Ogden High School who joined us, one at our Philo location and one at our Bradley location. And they both were able to participate in a couple of days a week and join us on several of our community activities. We also were able to, we also volunteer at Salt and Light. One of the young men volunteers at Salt and Light through school. He was able to maintain that. So it was a very successful collaboration. We worked really well with the teacher, Beth Beckett at St. Joe Ogden, the coordinated transportation. Each of the aides was very helpful to our staff and very supportive of the individuals. And it was an opportunity for each individual to get to know what they like about what we're doing, and we got to get to know them. And both of those young men have joined us now since they exited school. In June, they began receiving services, and it was a very positive outcome. So it was just nice to have that opportunity to do a little bit of getting to know you and them getting to know what our day program services were like before they actually exited school. So I wanted to let you know that.
Anybody else want to come forward? Those were all excellent. Thank you very much. Lynn is whispering in my ear that there was something we forgot.
That's what I forgot when we were talking about staff reports. Can I just show you real quick?
Yeah.
Because it looks so much cooler in color, which is only available to in the online version, but the county has a social media. There's like a whole person doing this stuff now, and during May for Mental Health Awareness Month, they featured 3 of our people. And it's kind of nice. It's sort of the beginning of a good collaboration too, since Allison Boot, who you heard from earlier, is our social media person, and she posts all kinds of stuff on behalf of the Expo and Alliance for Inclusion and Respect. And now the county can share that stuff. And so we have Allison, and then we have Miss Stephanie, who has long been the organizer of the art shows and of, communicating with the artists about what they might want to do. So that was the focus of hers, even though she's done millions of other things for the Mental Health Board. And then Chandra, and here's another way that we will be able to better promote the mental health first aid trainings, is using the county's social media too. So I know these folks are kind of shy and maybe don't like it, but they all did a great job of interviewing, and these were on Facebook, and we tried to share them widely. Anyway, I'm sorry I didn't mention it before with the staff reports, but okay.
Thank you, Lynn. Well, that was another success in agency information, so that was good. Board announcements. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here in person and online, and wish everybody a good month ahead, and we'll see you all in July.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.